Hey guys, welcome to the Floaty Lady channel. I've been on a quest to find the best tattoo machine, and without a doubt what I keep hearing is that the Dan Kubin is pretty darn awesome. So I bought one. Yep, a Dan Kubin. Let's do it. Let's do an unboxing. Don't forget to smash that like button. Okay, let's see what comes with the Dan Kubin. Looks like they sent us some coasters and this awesome sticker. That's very cool. Thank you. And there it is. It's a really nice box and good packaging in this thing. Came safely, quickly. The good stuff for those who know. All right, so this thing supposedly is amazing. Thank you. Thank you. No, thank you. Egg crypt. All right. Oh my Lord. Half hard nipples. Wow. Oh, wow. Well, we probably wouldn't have bought these separately as well. Tools. And boom. Aw. Wow. And it's got the DK key thing here. This is the Sidewinder 7.3. This newer model looks a little different. It has this key here, this DK, which looks pretty awesome. It makes the machine look a little more vintage. So he's dated it and signed it here for me, which is pretty cool. So on the Dan Kubin website, you can find the Sidewinder and other pretty cool rotary machines. This one just came out, dropped on Sunday, and we had been watching the website for a while, so we picked it up. It's got the brass plates here, which I really liked. I thought that looked cool with the wood. So, yep, there it is. That is a Dan Kubin. I bought one. What can I say? I have no idea how to use this thing. So, it's going to be fun. I've been using pen style rotary machines and they are awesome, but I do feel like my Direct 2 is a little more comfortable, and this is a little more comparable to that in weight and hand position. So yeah, let's see how it goes. There it is. It's a beauty. So here on the back, we have a dial that we can turn to change the stroke. These can be reversed also as a quick fix to change the stroke. Red on the bottom is a softer hit. And there's that key we told you about before. And yep, clip cord cover. Biodegradable bag. And we have here this piece of silicone with a drawing of a moth that I made. So Dan Kubin's gonna be a little noisier. Oh yeah, and there's like more splashing with Yeah, that's a lot more swag. Look at that. Woo! Okay, let's stop. I don't know if there's ink in there. It's really loud and intense. It's splashy. It feels like it's cutting through like butter, and it seems pretty steady. Let's see what's happening here. I have no idea. I'm going fast. I feel like, yeah, I'm going a bit fast. Higher voltage. All right, I think the best way to test this out is to actually draw the same thing on both sides here. Well, almost the same. This guy on the left, he's a little angry. The guy on the right, he's a little more calm. But anyway, yeah, so we're just have some circles here and some squares. And what we're gonna do is tattoo over those. On the left side, we're gonna use the Neuma 4. On the right side, we're going to use the Dan Kubin Sidewinder 7.3. So here we are at a 6 volt doing the right square with the Dan Kubin. And on the left square, I'm trying a different technique at a lower voltage, just kind of painting the line in. The voltage range for the Dan Kubin is 4.5 to 6 volts. And so on the left is a 4.5 and on the right is a 6. Both line work, just different techniques. And what I noticed with the Dan Kubin is that the work was a little more patchy for the first pass, but by the second pass it gets a little better. Okay, we're going to go on the left to the Neuma, and we're going to line the right rectangle here with a higher voltage. The voltage range is a little different with the Neuma, so we're actually up at an 8.6. The voltage range is about 4.5 volts to 9 volts on the Neuma. And as you might notice, the lines look a little more saturated on the first pass, and by the second pass look even better. I'm doing some whip shade in the corner of each box here at a lower voltage to see how the dots are different. The stroke length for the Neuma is a 3.6, and the stroke length I'm using on the right is about matching. So what I noticed about the whip shade was that on the left there, the stroke length 3.6 at least for the Neuma had slightly closer spaced dots. On the right side, I saw the dots were a little more spread out, and that has to do with the stroke length and the speed of your hand. So there are some different variables there that don't really need to compare to one another, because you could probably achieve the same result with the Neuma with some adjustments. But all in all, the whip shade looks good. With both machines, I notice the Neuma does get a bit darker in the corner. When running the circles with the Dan Kubin, I did feel like I had really good control of the needle. The needle seemed to stay on my target well, but the Dan Kubin does vibrate a bit more than, well, a lot more than the Neuma. So that's a hurdle that you need to jump over to perfect your work with the Dan Kubin. So I also did a second pass with the Kubin just to be fair here, to try to, because I knew I was going to have to do 2 passes anyway. I did 2 with the Neuma, and then I came back to the Kubin side here, did a second pass to get that saturation. All in all, I still think the Neuma was more saturated. So both these machines seem to have really good penetration. There are some differences in the way that they function. The Dan Kubin rotary machine is more traditional style. You can use needle on bar or cartridge. Both systems have really good penetration, great for lining. The Neuma also is awesome for lining. I've had really good luck with that. It is a little bit harder to keep it steady at first, and I do think you get accustomed to whatever machine you choose. I will say the Dan Kubin had great control, but I feel like all in all, I like the saturation and the look of the lines with the Neuma better. Since you have to hold the more traditional style rotary at an angle, it is important to note that it's easier to cause blowouts and kind of angle your needle incorrectly, which I am guilty of. But you have to learn somehow, and my husband is very patient. My first machine was a Direct 2, and I did get used to having my hand at an angle, so when I switched to the pen style, I actually thought it was uncomfortable. Then I got used to that. When I bought the Dan Kubin, I realized that I got a little too used to the pen style, and now that traditional style angle felt a little awkward. And I realized that with the needle at that angle, it is easier for me to go the wrong direction and to possibly cause a blowout, which most people are guilty of at one time or another, unless you're like super perfect. Well, then just get out of here. Over time, I think things get easier, but I will say, just picking up the Dan Kubin, I did feel like I had pretty good control, especially for the circle test here, which is pretty much the hardest thing to do to tattoo, is like a perfect circle. So I'm doing that on here, and silicone's a little more tricky. It does catch more than skin. It has more friction and resistance, so it will be easier to tattoo skin, human skin, not fake skin. So again, if you look on the left, you'll see a slightly more saturated finished piece than on the right, even after a couple of passes. Now I'm going in with the black and just packing in some black to the irises of this guy with the Neuma. Doing a little stippling and a little mag shading. So I've got the 7 mag here, and I'm switching it over to the Dan Kubin, and we have black packing in those eyeballs there again. Okay, now for the black packing test, we're doing the pupils on all these eyeballs. On the left, we have the Neuma, and on the right, the Dan Kubin. I did notice the Neuma was more saturated for black packing as well, but they both penetrated the silicone really well. And yep, the Neuma seemed to do a little more damage to the surface, but I will say the work I've done with the Neuma on skin has always healed really, really well, so I'm not worried about that at all. To know that the Dan Kubin didn't do as much damage to the surface might explain why the ink doesn't look as saturated, or it could be that the Dan Kubin just runs really well and does not damage the skin as much. So what are we going to do to figure all that out? Let's try it on some skin. Okay, so here we are. We're going to test the Dan Kubin out on my husband's leg. He's chosen this Hanya mask online, and I just edited it a little bit, made it a little more my own thing. So I threw it in Procreate and just put my own twist on it. It's about 4 inches or so, and we are tattooing a very delicate area. I did feel like the Dan Kubin was probably a challenge on this part of the body, so maybe I should have started with a thigh piece or something, but c'est la vie. So anyway, here we go. Here's a clip of me tattooing my husband. That was like, I blew you out right there. That first stroke, I went the wrong way. C'est la vie again. All right, so the Dan Kubin really needs to, you need to be careful. It's like a 45-degree angle, and you should really drag it in one direction or have it straight up and down if you're going the other way. I was a little too much at an angle for my first stroke there, and I probably went a little too deep, so I learned from that. Moving on, we are going up on the side of the leg. It's lining beautifully. It's going in really well. I feel like I have good control of it, but it's vibrating a lot, so I feel like I'm doing shorter strokes just to, I don't know if that's just gonna be a beginning thing or if I'm just more into the pen style now. It has more variability in how you can hold it and angle it. So that is something to think about if you're trying to decide between a more traditional rotary machine and a pen style. So here I'm more straight up and down, getting those lines in pretty well here. Going over it a second time to make it a little more saturated. So I think I was feeling like it wasn't quite as dark as I wanted. So going over the lines again is easy with the Dan Kubin because it actually is very accurate. The vibration in the Dan Kubin seems to be in a more of a vertical fashion rather than horizontal, which means it's really just vibrating up and down, so it doesn't actually wobble back and forth, which is nice. So really no wobble at all with the Dan Kubin, and that's with the needle or the cartridge. I did feel like the needle was a bit more messy, so I switched to the cartridges. It didn't have the sputtering as much or at all, really, so that was good. So I've kind of done one side here. I was feeling a little self-conscious because I did feel like I went a little deep on my husband's leg there with the Dan Kubin. So I want to switch over to a more comfortable pen style grip here and just see the difference one right after the other. Tattooing the same area of the Hanya mask just on the other side. So what I noticed with the Neuma is that I have more of the ability to get a line in a single pass, and I feel like I can go farther. It seems like when I'm using the Neuma, I do have to keep the needle hanging out a little more, so there is more of a concern of going too deep, and if you like to ride the tube, so to speak, or tattoo in that style, it could be a little more difficult for you to use the Neuma because the needle does have to hang out a little bit. The cartridges that I use are just not long enough. So I'm really liking the way the Neuma looks here, so I just decided to go ahead and finish it up with the Neuma. So now I've grabbed my 3-round liner, which you can use on the Dan Kubin, but it's really meant more for traditional work, larger needle groupings. And again, that's why I use the 9-round liner for this particular project. So definitely a tricky area to work with. I'm glad I got the experience on that with a loved one who forgives me. All in all, he's very happy with it. It looks pretty cool. So this is just the first pass, just the line job. Next time I'll do some shading and we'll take a look at how the final result comes out. So all in all, the Dan Kubin is an amazing little machine. They're one of a kind. Each one you get is unique. They look awesome. They're great for lining. They're really reliable for traditional work and larger needle groupings. Not great for fine line work, and if you are more comfortable with a pen style rotary, this one's probably not for you. But if you love traditional rotary machines, or if you have a Direct 2, I would highly recommend the Dan Kubin because it seems to have much better penetration and control. I personally think I'm going to stick to pen style rotary machines. I love how my Neuma worked on this piece, and I plan on using it some more in the future. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. Floaty Lady out.
Thank you. Bye.